Election day in Oklahoma drawing to a close, voters deciding the future of our state and our nation.
I'm live with results from across the state.
And I'm here in the metro for the race on Oklahoma's Senate seat.
We're also watching the tight race for Oklahoma's 5th congressional district.
Will Oklahoma flip the 5th once again?
KOCO bringing you team coverage of Election Night 2020.
Hundreds of thousands of Oklahomans without power. Ice-coated trees tearing down power lines.
That's what it felt like. It was like,
Oh, yeah, look.
just like that.
Cars and homes smashed. Some streets impassable.
That is a very dangerous situation.
That tree came down right on top of it, and it's laying across that white van right there.
KOCO bringing you team coverage tonight. The effort to restore power to thousands and the cleanup now underway.
The house is gone. It's exploded. There's nothing left of it.
A metro neighborhood shaken awake, devastated by a home explosion.
I'm heartbroken for them.
The latest on the search for evidence into what caused this.
Violence on Capitol Hill. Oklahoma lawmakers barricaded inside.
That person that came through the door, I was right there when they came through the door and when that person got shot.
Protesters are in the building.
KOCO working to keep in contact with our senators and our representatives.
They broke the glass. Everybody stay down. Get down.
As the U.S. Capitol is thrown into chaos.
You're watching KOCO 5. Breaking news is happening now.
We're hearing from one of Oklahoma's representatives who was inside the House chamber as protesters piled outside the door.
KOCO's Evan Onstadt tonight with our team coverage of this breaking story. Evan?
Yeah, that's right. Congressman Markwayne Mullin seen in this video near the door of the House chamber today, the barricaded door, I'll add. At one point, Congressman Mullin trying to reason with the protesters. He's joining us live in D.C. now over Skype. Congressman, first of all, thank you so much for the time. We're glad that you are okay. Let me take you back to that moment, and maybe you can walk us through it. You're standing there next to the Capitol Police. You're saying something clearly through the door. What were you telling those protesters?
Well, just seconds before that, it appeared that shots were fired. The glass came out, and a lot of people started yelling, "Shots fired." Of course, most of us jumped and took cover. Immediately, I recognized that it wasn't shots fired. Unfortunately, I've heard that before. And the police draw their guns real quick. And I was really trying to talk to everybody. At first, I was saying, "Don't shoot them. It wasn't shots. Don't shoot them." And then I started engaging with the protesters. Said, "Look, guys, you almost just got shot. Is this worth it?" And most of them at the door at that time quit beating on the door, and they settled down to some degree. But then this little agitator, because that's what it was, agitators that was doing this, came to the door and just doing what he was doing. He was agitating. He's probably one of the guys that probably should have been knocked on his tail, but it did diffuse the situation. But I'll tell you what, the police showed great restraints. It clearly sounded like gunshots at first. And it took a second even for me to process that. There is very fortunate that more people didn't get seriously injured. And, but unfortunately there was one young lady that came through the door or came through a door, not that door, but a different door, that did get shot, and she lost her life because of it. But I just can't say enough for these men and women in uniform, these police officers that was willing to put their life on the line and be greatly outnumbered. They were greatly outnumbered by the protesters at the door. There wasn't very many law enforcement in the chamber with us, and they were willing to hold the line as long as they could to make sure other members could get out. And yet they have families to go home to, and my family isn't any more important to me than their family is. And I just commend them for it, because a lot of them got hurt bad today.
Congressman, we've heard a lot of descriptions of today, protests that turned violent. We've heard insurrection. We've heard domestic terrorism, that word thrown around. How are you thinking of this today?
I think it's too early to lay blame anywhere. We're still trying to secure the perimeter out here. And so until that's done, we won't even be able to get into that deep dive. But I will tell you, there's been a lot of Trump protests. There's been a lot of Trump rallies, and you've never seen this kind of reaction from any Trump supporters. What it was, there was a group of antagonizers that came in and they broke away. There was a triage center in the basement of one of our office buildings where there's a lot of law enforcement officers that got injured, men and women. They got injured seriously. I saw one guy that lost his eye, and a lot of them have cuts and bumps all over them. And I was talking to every one of them, shook every one of their hands, talking to them, asking how they're doing. And I asked them what happened. And I didn't just hear it once, I heard it multiple times. They said there was a group that broke away from the protesters. And when they broke away, they had, quote, evil in their eyes. That was the antagonizers. That's the ones that came in and did this destruction. These weren't your normal Trump supporters. There was a lot of people from Oklahoma. I knew them. I talked to them, and they all said they were headed home. They weren't part of that. And these were a different group of individuals that came there to cause trouble.
Congressman, respond to this for me if you can, because there are those who say President Trump, as well as many of his elected supporters, such as yourself, share some blame in this, that really just the nonstop, unfounded claims of a stolen election have stoked a fire in a lot of people, and some people don't know how to handle that, and that it leads to something like this. How do you react to criticism like that, and is any of that founded, do you think?
That's ridiculous. That's what it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're all responsible for our own actions, but for the last 5 years, they've been coming after President Trump too. And I'm not saying one is justified for the other, because there is no justification for this action today. We can debate better than this, but that is absolutely ridiculous to say that President Trump or myself or anybody was responsible for today's actions. Listen, the left has been saying the most awful things and been antagonizing and fanning the flames, just want to say, for 5 years now. And we've seen a lot of bad behavior come from their side too. Where was the outcry? That's complete hypocrisy for them to even claim that. And at the end of the day, we have the right to protest. We have the right to assemble. We have the right to have strong beliefs, but we don't have the right to destroy and put people in harm's way because of anger. We don't have the right to storm public property. And one guy, as he was yelling through the door at me, he said, "This is our house. This is our house." And I said, "Yeah, you don't have a right to destroy our house. Mm-hmm. You don't have a right to do that."
So what happens next, Congressman?
Well,
does what today? I mean, do what today happen? Does that change anything? Does that change perhaps your plans or any of your colleagues?
I hope it changed the tone of our debate. As I said before, we can debate better than this. I hope it changes the tone of the debate. There's a lot of members, there's a lot of staff that is shaken up today. They've never seen anything like this. They've never been overseas and have seen actions like this before. And they had a dose of reality, which unfortunately happened today. And I hope when we reconvene, because we must reconvene today. It's a constitutional obligation we have today on these electoral votes for January 6th. So we must reconvene today. And when we reconvene, I hope you see a different tone. And I hope people don't go there and start trying to lay blame on individuals, because that will definitely stoke the flames at that point. We need to all take a deep breath and look at ourselves in the mirror and say, we're better than this. As I said before, I wake up every single morning and say, love the people, love the call. President Trump said he loved them. And maybe we need to take a little lesson from that. We can agree to disagree, but we should still be passionate about what we believe in.
Congressman Markwayne Mullin, thanks very much for your time. We appreciate it. We're glad that you and your colleagues are safe there.
You're watching KOCO 5. Breaking news is happening now.
And breaking tonight, a gunman opens fire at Lake Hefner, sending witnesses running and an armed citizen stopping this whole thing.
One of his nose was bleeding. He said they're shooting in Louis.
100 people inside this restaurant when that gunman stormed in. A mother and daughter hit by that gunfire. Sky 5 live over the scene as we speak. We have seen K-9 officers searching cars. The gunman's dead body still there in plain sight this evening.
A medical examiner just arrived within the past few minutes. We have crews on every scene for you, covering every angle of this breaking news, from Lake Hefner to the hospital, even the police department, where they are now bringing witnesses. Again, more than 100 people witnessed this, so that is where some of those witnesses will go give their statements. An active shooter in the heart of our city. We want to get you to all of this breaking news right now.
So here's what we know at the moment. The shooting was reported at Louis on the Lake at 6:30. Police say the shooter started firing inside the restaurant and was shot by a civilian. 4 people were hurt. We do know that 2 of them were shot, a mother and a daughter. 2 others were hurt in all of that panic. We have 7 crews out covering this story for you right now.
Want to begin with KOCO's Jonathan Cooper, who was at the scenes just moments after those shots were fired. We started hearing it on the scanner. Jonathan, what is the latest from where you are?
Getting the COVID-19 vaccine out to more Oklahomans.
What health officials say is stopping them from getting more vaccinations out.
A new plan to get Oklahoma City teachers vaccinated. How soon local teachers could get the shot and what the rollout could look like.
In less than 24 hours, the United States will have a new commander-in-chief.
President-elect Joe Biden has arrived here in D.C. Tomorrow, he will be sworn in as the 46th president. From the west front of the Capitol behind me, complete coverage is coming up.
Live, local, late breaking. This is KOCO 5 News at 5.
And late breaking news at 5 o'clock, Oklahoma's fight against the coronavirus reaching a grim new milestone. Today, our state topped 3,000 lives lost to the coronavirus since March. 43 of those deaths reported just today, 233 in the last week. But tonight we are tracking the vaccine effort. Nearly 200,000 shots have so far gone out in Oklahoma. And we thank you for joining us here today. I'm Evan Onstein.
I'm Jessica Shambach. Once again tonight, local officials pleading with the federal government to ramp up supply and fast. KOCO's Dylan Richards with the details for you new at 5.
Yes, state and local officials really have been frustrated with vaccine rollout. They just haven't been getting the supply from the federal government that they really would like. Of course, the federal government will be under new management starting tomorrow, leaving local and state officials to wonder, are things going to change?
Tonight, with COVID hospitalizations and deaths still high and cases starting to drop, City County Health Department official Phil Maytubby told the City Council that they're vaccinating people as fast as possible with the few doses they have.
Last week, we requested 25,000 doses. We got 6.
What, 6?
6,000.
6,000 versus 25,000 you requested.
But, I mean, it's not our state. Our state's whole allocation that week was 33,000. So this has got to be fixed at the upper end.
The state health department saying they hope things change in the new administration, but right now, in the next week, vaccine supply is still set to stay flat. In the meantime, health officials hoping things start to change on the rollout.
We could distribute 4 to 5 times the amount of vaccine that we have now. We just need the vaccine. And we have initiated with our congressional delegation, CDC, HHS, everybody we can. Hopefully we'll see some changes coming up within the next week.
In Oklahoma City, Dylan Richards, KOCO 5 News.
And today, the United States reached more than 400,000 deaths related to the virus. I want to dive a little deeper into the numbers just to see how we got to this point. You can see how many days it took us to get to each milestone here. 100,000 people dead in the U.S. in just the last 35 days.
And the mask mandate will continue for Oklahoma City. KOCO's Abigail Ogle joining us here. And Abby, the city council voted to extend that rule today.
And Evan, before the council voted, they heard some pretty shocking numbers from the county health department. Phil Maytubby with the health department said right now, Metro hospitals are on the fringe of level 3 and level 4. At phase 4, they start canceling surgeries. Some of those surgeries are elective, but even some needed surgeries could be canceled too. He started off by talking about our case rates here in the Metro.
If we had seen these back in July, we would have panicked. The mask ordinance is imperative. There are huge differences in the areas with mask and those without mask.
He also said their goal is for the county to be at about 5% positivity rate. So for every 100 COVID cases, 5 come back positive. Right now, we're not at 5. We are at 30% at county testing sites. The city council voted to extend the mask mandate until at least March 5th. The vote was 7-2. Back to you.
All right, Abby, thanks very much. Employees in one of our state's largest school districts could be getting the COVID vaccine sooner than previously thought.
Yeah, the superintendent for Oklahoma City Public Schools telling us that today. This morning on KOCO 5 News at 9 o'clock, Shelby Cashman asked him about the potential timeline.
If you are an employee of Oklahoma City Public Schools, listen to this.
So we will look toward the 12th of February as kind of what we're calling a loose target date to begin the vaccine for our employees.
That's just a few weeks away, and we know many of you have questions.
Is that for employees 65 and older or all employees?
No, that's for our employees, 65 and older. That's happening now. Comorbidities, that's happening now. And so this is for employees, other employees who work in Oklahoma City Public Schools.
So he says in the meantime, if you have another way to get a vaccine, like if you are 65 or older, take advantage of that. He says the district will be working with a third-party distributor, Passport Health, to vaccinate employees. And also a word of caution. While this is promising news in our state's fight against the coronavirus, the rollout will take a while.
And this is all dependent upon the amount of vaccines that we get. I mean, the more we get, the more we can give, but that's our target right now.
Shelby Cashman, KOCO 5 News.
And we asked the district what this vaccine rollout will look like for teachers and how employees should go about registering. They told us that they are working with that third-party distributor, Passport Health, on logistics. And they say those details will be shared with staff soon. Remember, you can see big interviews just like that one every day with Shelby, Jason, Alejandra, Jonathan. They start early at 4:30 until 7, and then again for an hour-long newscast first at 9 o'clock.
Let's talk some weather right now. We are tracking a chance for rain this week. We got meteorologist Michael Armstrong joining us. And Michael, you got when and who could see some showers?
Yeah, that's right, Evan. We are going to have some rain chances coming up. We do have some sunshine out there right now. It's 45 degrees, a cool afternoon with warmer temperatures not too far off. Okay, it is going to be a chilly night tonight, though. As we go into the morning hours tomorrow, we're going to drop down near 30 degrees. So, yeah, I expect a chilly night tonight. We'll start to warm it back up some tomorrow, but still with all the cloud cover, it's going to make it tough to get much of a warm up. We'll have some rain chances in southern and eastern parts of the state tomorrow. Those rain chances spread further north on Thursday. More on that coming up.
This week, we inaugurate a new administration and pray for its success in keeping America safe and prosperous.
A final farewell address released in just the last few hours by President Donald Trump. That message coming just hours before President-elect Joe Biden will be sworn in as the nation's 46th president.
The inauguration taking place at the height of a pandemic and amid extremely tight security. KOCO Sally Kidd joining us live from the National Mall to set the scene for us. Sally?
Well, Evan and Jess, the mall is all decked out for a celebration. Relatively few will be able to attend. You can see how deserted it is behind me, but there's also this field of flags here. Now, those flags represent the thousands of people who will not be able to stand here and watch this inauguration as traditionally happens.
It's deeply personal that our next journey to Washington starts here. A place that defines the very best of who we are as Americans. I know these are dark times, but there's always light.
Now, that was President-elect Joe Biden at a send-off ceremony from his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware. This evening, a little while ago, he participated in a memorial to remember those who've lost their lives to COVID-19. Now, of course, surrounding the president-elect and here on the National Mall, extra tight security and concerns about the potential for an insider threat. We are learning tonight that 12 Army National Guard members are being removed from the security mission for the inauguration. The Pentagon says 2 of them posted and texted extremist views. The others are considered security liabilities. There are 25,000 National Guard troops here positioned throughout downtown D.C. This place is virtually locked down. The public is being told to stay away. And of course, this extraordinary level of security is all because of that deadly insurrection that took place here at the Capitol on January 6th. Live in Washington on the National Mall, Sally Kidd, KOCO 5 News.
Thank you, Sally. Back here at home, a deadly crash shutting down Highway 33 in Logan County for almost the entire day. That area near Highway 33 in Western, it just opened back up about an hour ago, but we know one person was killed. Authorities haven't said at this point what they think caused it. And in Harrah, Sky 5 over another deadly crash. One person thrown from this car today. They're on I-40 near Harrah-Newalla Road. We have reached out to Highway Patrol for some more information on this. At this point, they have not released any more details.
5 people arrested today after they ran from police. Officers say they spotted a stolen Nissan with the 5 people inside near Northeast 40th and Lincoln. Police tried to pull the stolen car over, but the driver sped away, they tell us, reaching speeds up to 80 miles per hour. Not on the highway, we're talking on city streets here. The driver finally pulled over near Northwest 16th and Broadway. Officers say that car was taken during an armed robbery. Yesterday, we showed you this wonderful video. Oklahoma State walk-on Dee Mitchell getting surprised with a scholarship while working his shift at Walmart. A really heartwarming moment, Jess.
Yeah, it sure was. And today, KOCO's Aaron Bew interviewed both Dee and head coach Mike Boynton about the moment that is taking the internet by storm.
Let him know that he's going to be on scholarship.
It was this touching moment when Dee Mitchell was working his regular shift at a local Walmart in Stillwater when Coach Mike Boynton granted him a scholarship. Today, we found out Mitchell has been working around 40 hours a week at Walmart, enrolled in 19 hours at school, all while making it to basketball practice.
I always try my best and put effort into whatever I wanted to do.
And one might wonder, how is all that possible? Mitchell says it's pure perseverance.
Some days I didn't want to do it, of course. Some days I was really exhausted. I thought about the end goal and what could come out of it, the best situations.
And recently, Mitchell thought he would have to say goodbye to basketball after the pandemic financially hurt his family. He thought he would have to work more to help pay for bills.
One day I'm working at Walmart, till 10 at night.
But Coach Mike Boynton decided it was time to pay Mitchell for all his hard work.
He's a guy who young kids look at and say, hey, don't let your circumstances dictate how you go about your everyday life.
And because of this, Mitchell doesn't have to worry about quitting his dream.
Very surprised and very emotional.
Aaron Bew, KOCO 5 News.
We're hoping it will promote discussion and empathy and understanding.
A brand new art exhibit in the heart of OKC coming up. How local artists are using the installation to showcase the resilience of the Black community.
And another chilly night, but you won't have to wait long for some warmer temperatures. That's coming up.